Hi everyone, good morning. I hope you are able to hear me. Can
Yes,
anyone
sir,
please
we can
confirm?
hear. Yes, sir, we can
Yes,
hear
sir.
you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so in the last session, we talked about what is data and how data is going to be stored in the form of rows and columns, and how data is going to be generated by using the business applications. And we talked about the general approach, how exactly it is going to be there. And we also talked about ETL processing. ETL processing is used to extract the data from the various data sources and loads the data. I think I have not shared my screen. Yeah, so we talked about ETL processing as well in order to extract the data from the various data sources and applies the transformation as per the business requirement. And once the transformation is completed, then we can load the data into the target. So that we discussed about in the last session. And today I'm going to talk about introduction to Power BI and how we are going to install the Power BI desktop and the look and feel of Power BI desktop and components of Power BI desktop that we are going to see on today. So before going to the installation, we already come across as part of demo how Power BI desktop or how Microsoft Power BI is going to work. And if you wanted to extract the data for your reporting, end of the day, the users are going to expect reports only. So reports only will be expected from the users. And those reports are going to be created. Those reports are going to be created with the help of Power BI desktop. And this Power BI desktop is going to extract the data from the various data sources. The data source may be Excel, the data source may be AccessDB, the data source may be cloud database, the database may be MySQL database. Database may be, or data source may be anything. It depends on the data source. We are going to extract the data by providing the connection details. So what are the different connectivities we are having? We'll come across it. So the process of taking data from the data sources, we can call it as a extraction. Here also we are going to have a extraction. And then we are going to apply transformation with the help of Power Query. So who is going to extract the data from the data sources is your Power Query is responsible to extract the data from the various data sources. And we are going to see more 10 different data sources as part of our regular sessions. Once we extracted the data, then we are going to apply a transformation. If we take the prefix of transformation is T. And then we are going to load the data into the target. So in this particular case, the target is your Power Pivot. So I have a T and I have a E and I have a L. So when you combine all three together, we can say it is a ETL. In the last session, we talked about ETL processing. So what do you mean by ETL processing? We talked about it. So process of taking data from the various data sources and applying a transformation based on the business requirement, that we can call it as a transformation. And once the transformation is done, then we are going to load the data into the target. In a traditional ETL, your target is a data warehouse. And if you compare on yesterday's discussion about ETL, we loaded the data into the data warehouse as per the diagram. Okay, so we talked about like that. But when it comes to the Power BI, your Power Query is a ETL tool. Your Power Query is a ETL tool or ETL component. So whatever you want, you can call that. So the name itself saying that the query is used to extract the data from the various data sources. So how we are going to extract by using the Power Query, we are going to see practically. And once we have done the transformation and load the data into target, then we are going to do the modeling. So modeling also is very important. So modeling we are going to do with the help of star schema and snowflake schema and integrated schema. So integrated schema is combination of any one of the and any of two is known as an integrated schema. So how we are going to build it, we'll see that. And then we are going to create a report. The report will be created by using the Power View. So this is about orally how we are going to work with the Microsoft Power BI. So if you wanted to see all these areas or all these components, then we need to install your Power BI desktop. So Power BI desktop is a combination of the various components. So that we need to install. So this Power BI desktop is going to get an every month update. So every month, minimum one time, you're going to get the update, and maximum you're going to get two times also. So every month update will be there. So that means there may be changes in the design, there may be changes in the back end or in the front end, and we have to follow every month updates from the Microsoft so that we can be up to date. So there are many changes happened over the period of time. Now I wanted to show you how we can install this Power BI desktop. So if you wanted to install this Power BI desktop, then we need to download Power BI desktop. Just search for Google, and here I'm just going to download Power BI desktop download. Select it. The very first thing that you can take it, or even if you can also take this, whatever it is, you can feel is that correct or not. Let me hit on that link. And once I hit on the link, you can see here when it was released. Just observe the version of this Power BI desktop is 2.x version, which is released in the month of November 19th. So 2.x was started very long ago, but you can see the numbers here. You can see the version here. So we cannot remember this. If they ask, you can say directly 2.x with the latest version. So latest version means current month version. And they may ask who is going to update this on every month. So a respective admin team will take care about it. We don't need to worry about it. The infra team will take care about it. They are not going to update every month in general. So often they're going to update it every 3 months or 6 months, depends on their guidelines. They're going to update it. In some places they don't even update it. They are going to have a old one only. And there are two different file names are there. If you can see, the first is Power BI desktop setup exe and Power BI desktop underscore 64. That means this is a 64-bit version. For 64-bit operating systems, we need to take it. So if your operating system is 64-bit, then you can go with this. Now I'm just going to take this download. When I hit on download, I have to take this one is because my operating system is 64-bit. Most of the systems will be having 64-bit. So if you're still having a doubt, you can just have a look here. Just go to the this PC and properties, and you can find that. This is the one. So this is a 64-bit version. So if that is the case, then you can take this particular option to download it. Now I'm checking this PBI desktop 64 and hit on download. Let me open this exe file. Just double click on it. So once you double click on it, installation of Power BI Desktop is very simple and very easy. Let me hit on next. And it will ask yes or no. We just press yes. So once you press yes, then it will start installation. Say next again. Accept the license terms. Hit on next. Again next. And finally just hit on install. So installation of the Power BI Desktop is very simple and easy. Takes couple of minutes. And now installation is completed. Let me hit on finish. Okay. So when you install Power BI Desktop and it comes directly, once the installation is completed, it will come to this particular place. And since I have already created few reports, because of that reason, I'm able to see few things here. In your case, it is going to be empty. If you're first time install Power BI Desktop in your system, then you're not going to see the recent files, and you're going to see only these options. So you can see here a blank report and One Lake Data Hub, Excel Workbook, SQL Server, and so on. So this One Lake Data Hub is a fabric. So how we are going to use that? We are going to see that now. So if you wanted to create a brand new report, then we need to hit on the blank report. So to create a blank report, we are going to use this. To create a brand new report, then we are going to use a blank report. Let me hit on it. Let's close this. So I wanted to take you through this. So navigations of the Power BI Desktop. So this is very, very important. So when it comes to Power BI or any tool, navigations are very important. So if you know the navigations, then you can move the cursor from one place to another place very easily. So while you are working in real time, and if someone asking to share the screen and If they ask you to go there and here and there, then it will be difficult if you don't know the navigations. So how you can remember the navigations is only by doing practice. If you do more practice, then you can remember more options. So otherwise, you have to identify where is that, you have to ask them again and again. So if you if you're asking them, then they may feel you're not having a right experience. So to avoid it, you have to do more practice. So that is very important. Okay. So this Power BI desktop is having a few options here. You can see. So this we can call it as a ribbon. So this ribbon is common for all Microsoft tools like Excel, Word, PPT, or anything. You can feel the similar kind of look and feel. Okay, so this is one thing. And this part, this is the build section. Okay, so build section is having visuals. The build section is having what? Visuals. So if you wanted to visualize the data, then you have to come to this particular place. Not only this build section is also available in this place. The build section is also easier. Okay, it's all depends on your interest. You can take the visuals from here or here. Both are same. For easy navigation, they kept in multiple places. And this particular part, this part is going to change this build section. To change a build section. So this is there with the latest versions. You may not see immediately, but you have to do some changes in the settings, then you can find this. Okay, so not only build section, now I'm there in the build section. If I go with this place, then it is a data section. If I go with this, then it is a format section. Okay, so this is a data section. You can see the symbol, and this is a build section. Both report and data will be there here. And this is a format section. This is used to go for format. Okay, so this is a bookmarks. I have to see this one, what it is. And this is a bookmark section. And this is a filter section. Filter. And this is a selection pane. So we are going to see all these options are available even in the ribbon also. Okay, so even in the ribbon also you can find that. So when you hit on this particular option, this filter is going to come here. This filter section is going to help you to filter the data. And this entire thing is going to be so this is a filter section. And this part is completely design surface. So this design surface will be used to design the reports. So depends on the business requirement, we are going to take the visuals from this particular area and we are going to visualize it. But how we are going to bring the data for this is a matters. So data preparation is also very, very important for us. So two parts will be there, data preparation and data presentation. So data presentation, we are going to do it in this particular place. This is a reporting. This is a reporting. And this is a data. And this is a modeling. This is a modeling. So for each and every section, there is a specific reason and requirement that we are going to come across it. So when you open this Power BI desktop, automatically it is going to sit in the reporting mode. And it is going to have by default, there will be page 1. Now, how we are going to bring the data for this? I wanted to design a report. I wanted to visualize the data for the business users. So as I said, the business users always going to expect a report. They're the business users. They don't know how to understand the data directly. So even as the developers, we also cannot understand the data directly until unless we have a visualization. So visualization is very, very important for us. So in order to visualize the data for the business users, then you have to start bringing the data from the various data sources. So in order to bring the data, then we have to talk about this Power Query. What is this Power Query? So what is this Power Query and what is the purpose of this? That I wanted to give a note for this. Components of Power BI Desktop. The very first one is Power Query. So Power Query, the name itself saying that it is used to query the data. It is used to query the data from various data sources without writing the code. So 90% we don't need to write the code. Because of that reason, I'm taking without writing a code. But 10% there is a chances to write the code, and what situations we are going to write it, we are going to see. And this Power Query is used to implement ETL processing for only reporting purpose. That is important. So we are not going to load the data into the data warehouse. We are going to load the data for reporting purpose. We cannot apply update operations. We cannot apply insert operations. We cannot apply delete operations. We are just going to load the data for only reporting purpose, nothing more than that. So if you want to save the data, you can save it. If you want to add some data, you can add it. But that purpose, what is the purpose of bringing data into Power BI Desktop is only for presentation purpose. So we already know about ETL. What is E and T and L? Extraction to bring the data from the sources, and T is represents transformation. So how we are going to do the transformation, we'll see that. So let me go inside the Power Query. How this Power Query is going to be there. Let me come to here. So I wanted to read the data from one of the sample file. Just imagine, I wanted to read the data from the sample file. So if you want to read the data from the sample file, then how you're going to read it? Before reading, let me go inside the Power Query, then let me show you what options are there. Then we'll see how we can read the data from there. So I'm there in the front. This is a front end, we can say. Now to go inside the Power BI desktop, there is a transform data. You can see here what it is saying. Use the Power Query editor to connect, prepare, and transform the data. So I'm just going to hit on it. When I hit on transform data, it opens a Power Query editor. It opens a Power Query editor. So this Power Query editor also is having the various options here. So when I first time open, you can see I'm not having much more windows here, but I'm just going to, what happened? This one. Maybe if I read the data, then only it is going to get this. I'll do one thing. I'll read the data. Let me close this. Okay, so I'm just reading data from one of the place at this point of time for time being, but we'll see. I think my screen is visible, right, for you? Can you please confirm?
Yes.
Yes, Bhaskar.
Okay. I thought it is not visible. Just give me a minute. Okay, so now I'm just presenting again. So I just created one folder here for keeping all the source files. Inside of the sub, I have a Power BI with Fabric, and I'm just going to keep a folder name called sources. Inside that, I'm just going to keep one Excel file. So I wanted to read the data from this particular place. So if a business user is asking to create a report, if business user asking to you to create a report, then first you have to understand what is the data source. If you don't know the data source, then you cannot bring the data from the data sources. So just imagine they're saying that file or data is available in so and so location. You have to bring the data from there. Or data is there, so the data is there in so and so database. You have to go there and bring the data. If that is the case, you have to ask them what is the connection details. So if it is a shared path, that is fine. If you have access, then you can read the data. If you don't have the access, then you cannot read the data. So just imagine you have a access for reading this particular data. I'm just going to try to bring the data from this particular place. So here, I'm not showing how we can read the data. Here, I wanted to talk about first Power Query, then I'll talk about, let me open this. I'll come to here again. We'll see how we can read the data, and I'll talk about the connectors before reading it. Yeah, so this is what this look and feel I expected to have it. So if you observe what it is there in this particular case, this is a menu. So this menu is going to help us to change this ribbon. So this ribbon is having what here is a ribbon is having transformations. So this transformations is completely user interface transformations. So what you are going to do is you are just going to do the clicks. We are just going to do the clicks as part of this particular Power Query. So Power Query is specifically designed to apply a transformation. Power Query is designed for doing the transformations without writing the code. The main motive of this Power Query is to avoid writing the code. So because of that reason, I used to say Power Query is a code-free ETL tool. So this Power Query was ingested, or Power Query was added in many places. It was very starting, it was introduced with the Excel. So once it is succeeded in Excel, they brought into the Power BI. all these components were there very long ago in Excel, and they brought together outside of Excel, and they named it as a Power BI desktop. And this Power Query is not only in Power BI and Excel, it is also there in the Fabric, Microsoft Fabric, and it is also there in the Azure Data Factory for Azure data engineers. So if you know at one place, then working with other places is very, very simple. So 90% is very much similar. There may be some small changes will be there in here and there, but definitely cannot feel it's different. You feel that it is very simple, or you feel that it is very similar if you know Power Query in the Power BI desktop. So here we are not going to write the code, and this is one section that you have to remember. In the left side, I have a queries. In the left side, I have a queries. This queries is going to have a list of tables. Query means a query is nothing but a table. You're going to have a various tables. Depends on the requirement, you're going to have the tables. At this point of time, I have only one table. In real time, you may have a 10 tables, 5 tables, 20 tables. It's all depends on the requirement. And in the right side, if you observe, there is a query settings. Query settings. This query settings is having a bucket called applied steps. This query settings section is having a bucket called applied step. So inside the bucket, I have 4 items. Item 1, 2, 3, 4. All these items are generated by your Power Query automatically. I did not do anything for this. Power Query generated. All these 4 steps were generated by Power Query automatically when I read the data from the data source. So when it is generating, it may generate a single step, or it may generate 4 steps, or it may go for more or less. We don't care about how many steps it is getting generated automatically. So Power Query is having a capability to generate the steps or items based on the requirement, based on the situation. So here my intention is I have one bucket. This bucket is having a various steps. We can call them as a step. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. So that you just keep in mind. And in this particular case, I have a formula bar here. This we can call it as a formula bar. Or I can also say M code. So M code means mashup code. Power Query is a user interface tool which generates the code called M code. M code means mashup code. So mashup code is used to transform the data. Mashup code is used to save the data. So that means your Power Query is used to transform the data based on the business requirement. So behalf of us, Power Query is responsible to generate the code. Power Query is responsible to generate the code. We don't need to worry about it. So what you have to worry about is, how can I remember this user interface? How can I use this UI to transform the data? So that is our responsibility. So behind the scene, your Power Query will generate the code. And this particular place is going to show the displays the data based on selected step from applied steps. So depends on the selection of the step. Depends on the selection of the step from the applied steps, data is going to present here. So when you see the data, you can feel whether you did a right transformation or wrong transformation. How do we know that? Depends on the selection of the step, or depends on the transformation that you applied. Now, if I wanted to see the data for this navigation, I can select this particular step and I can view the presentation here, how it is visualizing, how it is displaying here. It's not a visualization, it's a displaying. And now I have been here in the last step. I was there with the last step. And if I'm there with first step, then it is going to show as per the first step. And this we can call them as a transformations. All these steps is known as a transformations. Whenever you are going to apply a transformation by doing the clicks, then new step will be added here. When you do some action, that action will be added here. That means when you do any click in the ribbon, then a new transformation is going to be added in the bucket. And all the steps are going to be executed. All the steps are going to be executed sequentially. All the steps are going to be executed sequentially. Whatever the data is there in the last step, whatever the data is there in the last step, that data is going to load into Power BI desktop. So we talked about extraction, right? He is going to extract, the Power Query will extract it. And then we talked about in the last session is transformation. So who is going to do the transformation? The Power Query is going to do the transformation. And loading, who is going to load the data? The Power Query is going to load the data. Now I have a various steps are there in the bucket. From which step I wanted to load the data? The last step in the bucket. Now in this particular case, the last step is change type. Whatever the data is there in the change type, that data is going to load into the Power BI desktop. So that you have to keep in mind. And we can also swap the steps from one place to another place. We can swap the positions of the steps. Okay, so if you wanted to see all the code at one shot, all the code of this particular transformation, then we have to use here. We are going to have a advanced editor. This advanced editor is going to show us a code. Formula bar shows only a single step code. Whatever the step you selected, for that step only you can see the code. But if you want to see the code for all the steps, then you can use this advanced editor. So this is about introduction to your Power Query. Any question as of now?
All good.
Okay. So if I want to load this data, the Power Query is going to load. How it is going to load is by just doing this hit on. You're just going to hit on this button. It is going to load the data. So just observe how exactly it is going to be happen. Hit on close and apply. Close means it closes this Power Query window. And then it applies the changes. Now data is loaded here. Okay. I'll come to this point. So we have seen the Power BI desktop, how it is there, and the components of the Power BI desktop. We talked about this Power Query, and rest of them we are going to see over the period of time, but we have seen diagrammatically as part of this. As part of this, how these components were there that we have seen. But we are going to talk about all these things individually. Now we just come across this Power Query, how Power Query is there. Now I wanted to read the data from the Excel. So to read the data from the data source, your Power Query is responsible to read the data. To read data from data sources, we need to use Power Query. And Power Query required, Power Query expects connectors to connect to data sources. Now my data source is Excel. If your data source is Excel, then you need to use Excel workbook connector. So if your data source is the Excel, then we have to use the Excel workbook connector. And simply we can say this Excel workbook connector, the very first connector that I'm going to talk is, it is used to connect Excel workbooks. Simple as that. Now I just wanted to read the data from there. If I wanted to read the data, then you can see here I have a Excel workbook. So since it is coming from the Microsoft, this Excel is also from Microsoft. Whatever the products are there from the Microsoft, they're making highlight here. This is one and One Lake, Data Hub, SQL Server, all these are from the Microsoft, and Dataverse also. Okay, so this is one of the option. If it is visible here, you can directly go and bring the data from this particular place. If some data source, then we need to go for get data dropdown. You can see here, I have a varieties of the connectors here. They noted few of the connectors visibility here, and if you wanted to see more and more connectors as per your business requirement, then you're going to use this option. Let me hit on more. You can see all the connectors here. If you wanted to see only file related connectors, you can see here Parquet file, SharePoint folder, JSON file, CSV file, Excel workbook, and so on. And all database connectors, we have a varieties of the databases, Access database, SQL Server, Oracle, Netezza from IBM, Teradata. Okay, so there are many databases are available here. Snowflake, whatnot, there are many things. And Microsoft Fabric. So we are going to come across these parts as part of our regular training. So you can understand how we can bring the data from the Microsoft Fabric if you have a data in the Fabric. I'm sorry. Power Platforms. So here we have a common data service, Power BI data flows. This is the legacy. It was not there now because of Microsoft Fabric. They're making it out. So data wars, data flows, and Azure related services also is there here. If you want to bring data from Azure Data Lake storages, then you can also take Azure Data Lake storage Gen 2. It all depends. Azure Databricks and online services. There are many online services are available here. Dynamic 365 and Google Analytics. There are many things are there. So when the situation comes, then you can learn about a connector. If situation is not coming, there is no point of knowing all these connectors. So if you know few of them, at least 5 to 10 if you know, then you can work with any kind of data source. So you can check with Microsoft articles, even if it is not helping, you can also raise a support request with Microsoft, and Microsoft will help us while working for company. Because as an individual, we are not paying anything for the Microsoft to take the support from them. But as an organization, they're going to take, and we're going to take help from them to connect with the data source. If it is very brand new and if no one is aware of in the team, then we can directly take the help from the Microsoft. So 100% it is going to be solved. So we don't need to worry to connect the data source if it is a very new or unknown data source. If it is a SQL server, most of us are aware of it. If it is Access database, most of us are aware of it. But if there is something which is different, then you may not be aware of it. We can try with different articles from the Google, or we can also check with the Microsoft if it is required. So connectors will be used to read the data from the data source. And if you want to read the data from the Excel file, then we are going to read the data from the Excel file. And I'm going to show you in the next session again how we can read the data from the Excel. And just observe here, when I say a data, then I'm there in the data mode here. When I hit on it, you can see there is a data mode. And when I hit on it, only data mode is there. And I'm just going to hit on this. Data mode is there and build mode is there. If I uncheck this, then I have a only build mode. And this is a format section. You can see all of them, you can have it. And this is performance analyzer and bookmarks. All options are available here. You can see bookmarks is there, performance analysis is there, format is there, build is there, data is there. You can minimize them. When the moment you minimize, you can see here how exactly it is coming. And sync slicers, selection pane. So selection pane, every tab that we are going to come across in our regular sessions. So you don't need to worry about it. We are going to come across each and everything so that you'll be very familiar with the navigations. So navigations are very important. So let me know if you're not able to see these options in your place, then I'll help you how we can bring them. So how to use that. So up to date versions, I always recommend to use while working. Okay, so I'm stopping here. And if you have any question, you can ask me. Okay, and one more thing I wanted to say, tomorrow I'm not going to be available, guys. So I cannot take a session on tomorrow, and we're going to meet on day after tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So thank you for joining. We'll see you on day after tomorrow.
Thank
Sure.
you.
And bro, can you share the locations of these recordings and the required documents?
Yeah, I'll share it once everything is mostly by a couple of days. I'm going to share all those details, Kranti or Vivek. I'll give the details from where you are going to access it.
Cool.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah. For time being, I'll keep the sessions in the YouTube and I'll give it to you. But we are going to have all those things from one place.
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and
Thank
we'll see you soon.
Thank you.